Hello, everyone. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, along with Marie Harf, Jesse Waters, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. It's on. President Trump not sitting back quietly while his former FBI director disparages him to the media and to readers of his new tell-all book, A Higher Loyalty. Comey hurls all kinds of accusations about the president, comparing him to a mob boss who is, quote, unethical and untethered to truth. In a clip just released, he also discusses the infamous Dossier.
Did you tell him that the Steele dossier had been financed by his political opponents?
No, I didn't even think I used the term Steele dossier. I just talked about additional material.
But did he have a right to know that?
That had been financed by his political opponents? I don't know the answer to that. It wasn't necessary for my goal, which was to alert him that we had this information.
Did you tell him you thought it wasn't true, or you didn't know if it was true or not?
I never said I don't believe it, because I couldn't say one way or another.
Did you believe his denial?
Honestly, never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but I don't know whether the current president of the United States was with prostitutes peeing on each other in Moscow in 2013. It's possible, but I don't know.
God bless America. We apologize for that language and content for a second there. All right. Mr. Trump had some words of his own this morning, calling Comey a proven leaker and liar, a weak and untruthful slimeball who was a terrible director of the FBI. He says it was his great honor to fire Comey. Well, Sarah Sanders was just asked about that attack on the former FBI director.
Isn't all of that a bit unbecoming of the presidency of this White House to go after him in such a personal way like that?
I think
a slimeball and a liar and a leaker.
I think it's unbecoming for the person that is supposed to be the top law enforcement official in the United States, the person that is supposed to protect the people of this country, to lie and leak classified information, certainly falsified documents. I didn't encourage Jim Comey to go out and do a PR campaign. Congress has asked Jim Comey to come and testify multiple times, of which he's denied being able to do, yet he found time to sit down with George Stephanopoulos for 5 hours.
Okay, so obviously some rough stuff there in terms of going back and forth. People thought this book was going to be quite explosive. You saw this start out this morning with the president tweeting. You saw the reaction on social media and online. So we take it around the table and take reflections. Greg.
This isn't Deep Throat. It's more like Gossip Girl. Mm-hmm. I mean, the white half moons under his eyes. I mean, that's a revelation. We notice that every time he's talking, because he's usually out on the golf course. Also, I love that part where Comey is in this eternal state of surprise or emotional anguish. He's always conflicted and things are bothering him. And how do I deal with this? And then this happens. The world is always happening to him, right? And he's just the everyman, the Jimmy Stewart. He said that when he met Trump, he said it reminded him of a mafia boss, as if that's a problem. I mean, if that's a problem when you're dealing with North Korea and Putin, I think America might see that as a plus. I'd much rather have, I guess, a mafia boss than a grad student TA. Mm-hmm. So I think that's your revelation. It's a very emotional book. It's a tell-all by an ex.
Oh my God.
Looking forward to one of those.
But it's almost, he's doing through the whole poetry where it's
yes.
Where are we going here with this, right? Exactly. Dana, what do you think in terms of kind of the rollout for this from a communications perspective?
For who? For the president?
For Comey first.
Well, I think it's textbook. They've been pitching this book ever since he got the advance to write it. Mm-hmm. And so the pre-orders were probably off the charts. He's going to be the darling of the media for the next several days. But I do think when he's talking about the mafia boss, it's not about foreign policy. Mm-hmm. He's talking about the demands for loyalty from people that work in the government. And that's what Comey says led to his being fired, because he wasn't going to be that person for him.
Right.
I like the whole package. If that's part of being a mafia boss, that's okay.
Okay. All right. Well,
that's one point of view.
Each his own.
I mean, but if it was Obama saying that to Holder, then we would have criticized, and we did criticize Holder for not being aggressive and being independent enough and defending the president when he didn't deserve it.
But I guess it comes down to one fact, that there's a certain kind of person who runs for president. Trump isn't that person, no matter how hard you want him to be,
Sure.
Mitt Romney or Al
he became
Gore.
president.
Yes, he did. But he did it without the purity test all politicians know how to fake.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's definitely acts like a
Yes.
mob boss. He's not a mob boss, but I think Comey, a little sensitive to pick up with what Greg said. He reminds me of the kid that like didn't really have the stomach to confront someone face to face, and then later ran back and scribbled it down in his little diary and wrote it in his little notepad. And now he's just trying to profiteer off of it, like most people try to profit off the president. I think he's really diminished the credibility of the FBI. He botched 2 investigations, the Hillary and the Trump investigation, and he's now really muddying the waters with the Mueller investigation. He's a critical witness in this whole thing. Remember, he's one of the obstruction of justice centerpieces for this, and he's running his mouth and he's writing tell-alls. The way he talks about the dossier is disturbing too, because this dossier was paid for by Hillary, yet he didn't feel the need to tell the president-elect that his biggest nemesis was the one that paid for it and got it out in front of everything. That seems to be a critical piece of information. I thought George Stephanopoulos did a really nice job asking about that. The whole thing about he's a liar and a leaker, you can't really discount that too. He testified under oath that he never leaks, yet he leaked this memo to his buddy, and then it hit the press. So he is a liar and a leaker. That's the truth. I don't think this guy... He's supposed to be a lawman. He sounds like a schoolgirl.
Yeah.
Is the bottom line. And he's emotional. He's socially awkward. He can't even be alone with the president of the United States. How weird is that?
Are you serious?
He's a school. I'm not to diminish schoolgirls. He sounds like a sensitive little child that is not really who I would think would be the leading lawman in the country. The tough guy. Willing to take people down. I think you can still say that these days, Dana.
You don't have to be gender specific.
Yes.
Be gender neutral.
Yeah, right.
Jesse is right that Jim Comey is
a choir boy. How's that?
not a perfect. Jim Comey is not a perfect advocate for Democrats or Republicans. Right. My party hates what he did to Hillary Clinton and reopening the investigation and not telling the public about the Trump investigation. So I'm not going to defend Jim Comey on his face, but I will say the book fits into a narrative about the president, and the president's response underscores some of what Jim Comey is saying, that he's ego-driven, that the president's ego-driven, he's narcissistic. I mean, the response from the president is like a schoolyard bully, if you want to continue with your analogy here. So, look, what matters most is not this media blitz. It's going to go on for a couple days. It's Bob Mueller. And you're right that Jim Comey is a key player in this, but this book will be interesting and gossipy. What Bob Mueller finds about Jim Comey's role and obstruction is what will matter in the end here.
Look, this is pretty strong language when you think about it. For the former head of the FBI to say the president is unethical and untethered to truth and institutional values. That is making a very strong statement. But then again, he did get fired by him. So the problem is you're going to have a situation like this, Dana, where obviously the relationship between the two was fraught, and maybe the truth is somewhere.
I think that the book is going to reinforce any preconceived notion that you have about President Trump or Jim Comey. That if you're a Democrat who thinks that he did this for Hillary Clinton, and also remember, I think we didn't even bring this up, that he says that he thought Hillary Clinton was going to win. Therefore, that's why he decided to reveal it, so that she wouldn't look like an illegitimate president. And then, if you're the Trump camp, if you're in the Hillary camp, you think, oh, really? So you did that to us?
Exactly.
You hurt us.
That was a favorite.
And you protected President Trump, and you didn't tell us that President Trump was under investigation.
Exactly.
I think the Democrats have a lot to be mad about.
I do.
But to that point, but to that point, he wouldn't have done it if it was close. He only did it because he thought it wasn't close. So his decision was purely political.
Right. And he waited a month until they released that to the public. Remember,
and by the way, I think
let's look at the ethics involved here when you think about it, because this is a man who is supposed to be, the head of the FBI, leading the best and brightest, and now we'll look in the aftermath of what has occurred in terms of Comey, the investigation, the collusion that has come out in terms of Strzok and Page and what they were up to, that's really done damage. And this was under his leadership to the American conception of it. Look, the fine FBI officers, men and women that I have worked with throughout my career, I have the utmost respect. They work very hard for very little money. This is not good or healthy as a country to have this. It seems to me when I read this, like poetry and the eye thing, it seems like Shakespeare in the Park, but, you know, FBI, president, let's get it together.
Well, in the National Review, Jim Garrity wrote a really good piece. And he mentioned a lot of ex-FBI officials who've had long careers there. And people defended James Comey in the beginning. They didn't like the way he was fired by the president. And now they're coming out and they're saying, listen, it's always about Jim Comey. The guy's a celebrity, always wants the spotlight on him. And we gave him the benefit of the doubt in the beginning. But now it's looking like it's an ego play. And they don't like that. They like the focus on the FBI delivering results, not the politicization of the FBI, and unfortunately that's what's happened here.
Well, but there also then he kept the personal notes, and then there was the allegations of leaked information to the New York Times. And when I look at this as a prosecutor, I say, okay, wait a second, what's going on here with respect to these notes? Where are they? Is he going to be compelled to proffer them forward? What's going on? Because to me, that undermines kind of the American sensibility of fairness and appropriateness in terms of what is he doing there? Was it because he was going to write a book or do something? I don't know.
Well, and I think going back to what I said earlier, just because Jim Comey is an imperfect messenger doesn't mean some of the message isn't true.
Fair point.
So I think I agree with everything you just said. He has not, acquitted himself perfectly here. We can't discard everything he's saying because of that.
Yeah, he did make a lot of serious allegations, as you pointed out, about the president being a liar and untethered to the truth and unethical. I haven't read the whole book, but of what's leaked out so far, he has not pointed to one specific thing where the president has outright lied, where the president has done something unethical, except for the smears, comparing him to a mob boss or, saying he intimidated me, which I don't even know what that means. If the FBI director, someone shouldn't intimidate you.
Yeah, there's testimony as well in terms of in front of congressional committees that was called into question. But anyway, it's fascinating to look at and discuss, as a lawyer and where the investigation is going. So let's see. Comey once said that politics didn't play a role in his handling of the Clinton email probe, but he says something different in his new book. So which is it, you ask? We have it for you next.
You have to read it right now.
Back now to the Comey bomb.
Read your mom's text.
All right, my mom got very upset about some language that I used. Jesse, you cannot call someone a schoolgirl. And then she goes, you have to. I think she cut off the word apologize. All right, back now to the Comey bombshells from his new book. The former FBI director throws his former boss under the bus quite a bit, questioning Loretta Lynch's partiality on the Clinton email probe. He says, unverified classified information, quote, would undoubtedly have been used by political opponents to cast serious doubt on the Attorney General's independence in connection with the Clinton investigation. He also admits his decision to announce the reopening of the probe right before the election was based around politics. Quote, it is entirely possible that because I was making decisions in an environment where Hillary Clinton was sure to be the next president, my concern about making her an illegitimate president by concealing the restarted investigation bore greater weight than it would have if the election appeared closer or if Donald Trump were ahead in all polls.
That's just amazing to me. I'm sorry.
Who allowed
Go ahead.
Because I truly believe that even if he had not come out and said that there was an investigation of Hillary Clinton, that she was still going to lose. She didn't lose because of the investigation. And he won narrowly in Michigan and Wisconsin and blew him away in Pennsylvania. That was not going to change if there was if people knew about an investigation. People had made up their minds about that. So I just sort of it's not your place.
No,
it's the FBI. It's not your choice.
And not his place. In the summer as well, he put his finger in the air and did the exact same thing. And just so if you don't know, Andrew McCabe, who was the deputy person of the Department of Justice, was investigated by the IG. And the reason he was let go apparently was because he leaked, Greg, a story about the Clinton Foundation investigation and got caught when was confronted about it, lied about it to two people.
I can't keep up with this stuff anymore.
I do understand that part.
It's like the entire series of Dallas from the early 80s, you know, just compressed into one day. Look, the thing that gets me about McCabe is that he seems, I don't know much about him, but he has a GoFundMe page for his legal defense fund, and it's already, I think, close to 600.
It's 500, like over $500,000.
Yeah, it's close to the 600,000. So there are people, like regular people, I suppose, who could look at any number of causes out there, health causes, things for assorted charities and poverty, you name it. But I'm going to help a government bureaucrat who probably is pretty well off.
And who was a lifelong Republican. And most of those donations have come from, Rachel Maddow at MSNBC had really tried to help him out to try to get him some donations. So now the Democrats are helping McCabe. The other thing about the McCabe piece is that it's a little confusing. He and his wife are being accused of being too favorable and partisan to Democrats. He confirms to the Wall Street Journal that the Clinton Global Initiative is actually under investigation. That doesn't help Hillary Clinton. It helps President Trump. But how does it help him? How does he get in trouble with the IG? Because they say when he was asked about it, he lied. And that he was trying to protect himself by saying that Clinton was under investigation. It really is like Dallas.
No, it really is. And that's why people are so outraged by it, because this is what was discussed even on this show and across different platforms, that this was improper, that he was overstepping his bounds, that he was acting as the investigator and the prosecutor in this. And so that's highly problematic. And now you see the discord between what Comey is saying and Loretta Lynch. And what it tells me then is that Loretta Lynch was given some kind of notice, idea, something that he was going to kind of lay her out, because now he's trying to contradict her, which is why you saw, Dana, you pointed out so well the other day, that she tried to get out ahead of it and preempt it with that statement. And now we see why, because of what was revealed in the book.
So, Marie, I'm going to give you the floor, and you get to vent about how James Comey messed around with the Hillary investigation twice in the summer and in the fall. Go ahead.
Well, what's so bizarre is he felt a duty to the American people to confirm that he had reopened the Hillary email investigation because he thought she was going to be president, yet he felt no duty to tell the American people that Donald Trump was also under investigation. That smells like partisan politics at its worst. And that's why Democrats, one of the reasons they hate him.
Could I defend James Comey?
No.
Please?
Go ahead.
There's something unique about somebody who's despised by everybody that makes you think maybe there's something,
doing something right.
Maybe they're doing something right, but
everyone's right.
They're doing everything right.
All right. Well, I do know that if Hillary were president, she would have fired James Comey as well. Russia turns to the UN for help to protect Syria, but is it only a matter of time before the West strikes? Up next.
Welcome back. Still awaiting word on how the United States and allies might respond to Syria for the chemical weapons attack against civilians. Here's the latest from the White House.
We're continuing to have ongoing conversations with our partners and allies. The president spoke with President Macron of France again earlier today. We're continuing to have ongoing meetings and conversations here at the White House. And when we have any further developments, we'll let you know. I don't have any additional changes to policy in Syria at this time. And in terms of options, all of our options are on the table, and we're continuing to look at those, and we'll make an announcement then.
The U.S. is confident Syria was responsible for the attack. Sanders said the White House also holds Russia responsible for its failure, to stop it from taking place. Marie, let me go to you first. I do think that, so a year ago when we had the initial strike, after President Trump's only in office for 3 months, but he says, I am going to have a red line, I'm going to enforce it. And as I understand that did surprise the Russians, that they didn't anticipate that would happen. Now, going forward, do you think that what the president is trying to do is establish a broader coalition for some sort of a longer term, more decapitating type strike?
Well, here's the challenge. He definitely has to do more than he did last year. I thought it was a good step last year, and it did surprise people. He has to take more action, and he is trying to get allies on board for that. But he's also hearing from Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, who he respects quite a bit, who's telling him to slow down, to put this in the context of a larger Syria strategy, because the president does not want to get sucked into a larger conflict in Syria. Last week, he was out publicly saying he wants the U.S. out in 6 months or less. So finding that right balance between how you send a stronger signal, yet don't get sucked in deeper. That's what's so hard. And I think Mattis is pushing the brakes a little bit here rightly so. It will be interesting to see what comes out of this debate.
In addition, Greg, the other problem is the fact that there are Russian soldiers on the ground, and so the risk would be we kill one of theirs, they kill one of ours, and then this escalates quite dramatically.
I think the technical term you're looking for is it's a pickle. Look, I have a rule: never do something because you feel you have to do something.
Right.
Because you have to know, and I think that's I feel very confident. Like, no one's an expert on Syria. No one's an expert. The idea of a Middle East expert, I've never met one except for Jesse.
Thank you.
But I mean,
glad I went to graduate school.
Yeah, but I think I insulted everybody on the table. But Mattis,
so good at that.
I trust Mattis because Mattis is a warrior.
Yeah.
And like we talked about yesterday, they're the most reluctant. And I do think, Marie, to your point, that I do think, okay, number one, I go back to the OJ metaphor. He was arrested for kidnapping, but that's not why they arrested him. They were getting him for the crimes before.
Right.
And we know Assad has done horrible, horrible things. He may not be behind this one, but so what?
No, you're right.
Yeah, but the thing is, there is a spectrum of retaliation. And if this is April, the bombing in April of an airfield, and this is total regime overthrow, bomb the hell out of it, it's going to probably be somewhere around here, I would think, because then everybody can walk away and go, something was done, and the Russians aren't going to say this is war.
Yeah.
Is that what we're looking for?
Well, the other thing that could happen, Kimberly, is that you could have the United Arab Emirates and Saudi actually a part of this coalition, which would make a big deal, and also that would pull the Saudis away from their recent cooperation with Russia, which would also be one of our goals.
Well, it's interesting because, I think that was one of the things people said, well, why didn't the U.S., act at the time? But it was more about military positioning in that area in the Gulf region, and that we didn't have ourselves and our allies positioned properly at the time because it came as a bit of a surprise. And that's why I think you saw Israel jump in to take the lead on that, but then not without trying to check in. There was some back and forth there. But when you're in the theater like that and you have to react very quickly, you're obviously going to operate at a disadvantage because you haven't had the benefit of time and space and thinking about it to go over it, right? So now you see the president being contemplative, deliberative. Time has passed. He's had the counsel in of General Mattis and also in terms of Ambassador Bolton. And that, I think, is helpful for him to try and make a decision because now we're saying what's going to happen potentially, and we see this showdown.
Israel, Jesse, has been very clear what its red lines are, and it does not let them get crossed.
Yeah.
Right, and I think they're a little more trigger happy than Mattis is because they're right on the doorstep. Yeah. So, but everyone's right. I mean, they're setting the table over there. The theater is loading up. If you've seen the map, they have a carrier strike group coming over from Virginia right now. It should arrive next week. And we have a destroyer in the waters right now. Russia evacuated all their ships because that port city that they run on the northern western coast, that's going to get probably bombarded. The airfields are going to get bombarded. Like you said, you have to strike a balance because if you go too hard, Greg, as you said as well, you're going to tip the scales in the Civil War, and then you're going to have complete chaos.
Right.
And they're biding time because they want to make sure there's a coalition in place and make sure the allies are on board. And, it's very serious business, and, you don't want to kill any Russians.
Being serious, though,
and cause a bigger conflagration.
But you also run the risk of what you do not being enough to change the calculation on the ground at all.
Right. I mean, then he soft.
He took a serious step last year that I think we all supported that didn't change Assad's calculation one bit.
Well, it made him pause for a year, and now he's back. So I think he has a stronger
fundamentally
We haven't mentioned Iran, Syria, which is also a part of this.
Huge.
And so the war between all of us is happening at the moment. But the other thing we can't forget, Greg, I'll give this to you as a last word. You can comment or not. But Jordan, which is this really important, great ally of ours, they already had 1 million refugees there before the start of the Syrian civil war. They now have taken on another 1 million, and they need our help to not only to stop the fighting, but also to help take care of these people.
If this has been going on for 8 years, 8 years. And this is whenever I feel this sense of urgency about this, it's like nobody, what do? It's like, apparently they're okay. The Middle East is okay with this. Well, tons of people dying.
Hundreds.
Yeah, that's true.
Enough,
but the Syria thing has been going on for 8 years, and it just keeps going on and on and on. And I wonder.
Although I do think there is something that has changed with the new leader of Saudi Arabia and his willingness to be very cooperative with Israel, and that paints a target on his back. but I think it's a courageous step, and hopefully it will be
I think
one
a
that will lead
game
us to a good
changer in
thing.
terms of an ally that would be willing to position themselves along with the United States. And then our first carrier group left on was April 11th. So we've got 2 strike groups, like you said, the Harry Truman and the 2 Iwo Jima. So I think we're in a good position now. We'll see what happens.
Indeed. All right, another controversy involving View host Joy Behar. Next.
Oh, I'd be rich, head to toe, Prada, Benz in the driveway, yacht in the on your feet. Get up.
Jeez Louise.
Well, we all know that Joy Behar can't ever find anything positive to say about President Trump. But did the View host go a bit too far again with this comparison? Watch.
We've gotten to the point in this world now where we have to rely on the sanity of Kim Jong-un and Putin over the president of the United States.
My issue is the moral relativism between someone like Kim Jong-un and Putin and President Trump. I think it's easy to sort of sit here and say that, but the reason why the Syrian...
You think Kim Jong-un is less moral than Trump? Do you?
Yeah. Oh, my God. I mean, I think Putin, the aiding and abetting of Assad right now...
On what topic?
If you think that Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin, and Bashar al-Assad and President Trump are the exact same thing, it's when you lose all arguments with me in every way.
What I'm saying is that I see that the 2 of them are backing off of war, and I see Trump provoking war.
Greg, I feel like you have a lot of thoughts on this.
Well, when I hear Joy equate Trump to, like, Kim Jong-un, she reminds me of Ava Braun.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
That's a joke. It was a joke. That's what she did.
We all just sat there silently.
Yeah, no, she has PTSD. That's President Trump's stress disorder. So that means no matter what he does, it's through this emotional prism that makes her upset. Joy needs more joy in her life. We need less joy in our life. Therefore, I think she needs to rediscover the important things in life, take a couple of weeks off, go out and talk to the people that voted for Trump or that don't see Trump as evil, and she might come back with a new perspective, healthy, rejuvenated. That would be good for her.
Okay, Kimberly?
I think it's just a very awkward and not appropriate comparison when you think of just the horrific things that Kim Jong-un has done to his own people, and you think of Putin and what's going on, in Georgia there, and it's just terrible suffering at the hands of innocents. You might as well just throw in Assad in there, because it just becomes absolutely preposterous when you look at the human atrocities, the genocides that have occurred. Very disturbing to me. I don't know. What are you going to do?
Right. Well, and she loses the ability to make a point about who's preventing war here. Jesse, I feel like you also are ready to go on this.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Putin is invading countries, and we know what Kim's up to. Trump hasn't invaded anybody. He's responding to a chemical attack. But why are we even arguing this? I mean, every person that knows anything about the news knows this. I mean, she's preaching to a very stupid choir. And Meghan McCain, thank gosh, she's on that table, the voice of reason. My goodness. Joy is basically doing the cable news thing of, let's say, the most inflammatory thing I can say. It's not off the cuff. I don't know anything about that. No, I'm beyond that.
I mean, she's entitled to her opinion as...
Right, I mean, she did it with... Yeah, but you know what? She looks like she's already set it up in her head, and you can see the gears moving, and then she comes out with it. She's trying to top the Christians are all insane or mentally ill, and now this, at any other network she'd be punished.
I know, but the bad then there was the defense of Kim Jong-un. It was like, well, wait a second, like that he was somehow maybe better than Assad.
Right. Everybody's mentally ill except Kim and Putin.
I think on foreign policy, President Trump, it would serve him well, I think, to take somebody into the Oval Office from like a Maggie Haberman or someone from the New York Times or the AP, or maybe just get a whole group of them from the White House press corps. Yeah. Go into the Oval Office, do an off the record with them about foreign policy, his strategy, how he's laid it out, how he's been thinking about things. Because I think that they actually have a very good story to tell. Yeah. It gets all bollocksed up because they're talking about the liars and the thieves and the whatever the things that were tweeted in the last hour. Right. But from a foreign policy front, the United States is in a leadership position now, and that we haven't seen in a long time, and especially in the Middle East. China is just a huge problem, and for all sorts of different reasons. And I think that his strategy has been better than people think, but they don't talk about it, so you don't know about it.
Well, and one way to do that could be they have a new national security advisor who I obviously don't agree with him on policy, but you have a new person in there who I think is closer to President Trump. You have a new Secretary of State coming in shortly who I think will get confirmed. So as this new team comes into place, maybe there is a way to better tell that story than McMaster and Tillerson were doing. Yep. Right?
It's fascinating, though, really.
Yeah, so we will watch this space. And up next, we answer your questions ahead. It's Fan Mail Friday. Back in a moment. Stay tuned.
Yes. Watch.
On a western bay, and it serves 100 ships a day. Lonely sailors past the
Fan Mail Friday, the 13th. Your questions answered now. I like this one. This is from, I can't say the name, Ibex BMW. What do you daydream about? I have to go to Jesse. Because do you even daydream?
What was that?
Yes.
What do I daydream about?
He's a dreamer. He dreams big. He's like,
Yeah, we're dreamers too.
Yes.
What do I daydream? Usually about things that are, either have happened or are going to happen.
That was so vague. I thought I would get it. Kimberly, what do you daydream about?
what do I daydream about? I'll tell you what. I love to think of like different ideas for cool like thrillers and like very cool. I've always wanted to do one like that.
Like assassinating people, you dream of assassination.
No, not
Be
that
honest.
kind, not that kind. Like meaning like very cool from, when I was a prosecutor, some of the really cool cases, and when I tried the cases.
Cracking a cold case.
Yeah, when I tried the cases with the Aryan Brotherhood against them, and it was just fascinating stuff. So.
All right, Bree, what do you daydream about? This is like a therapy session.
Besides the midterms.
Oh, nice.
You knew I was
Sounds like a
gonna say
nightmare.
No, I daydream about moving to a cabin in Maine in the woods with no internet, not Unabomber style, like nice, off the grid, Martha Stewart style, where I never have to worry about the news again.
Oh.
That's nice.
Dana?
Lately, I daydream about playing tennis because I'm trying to get better.
That's interesting.
You got to think about
That's a good one.
That's
Racket
pretty
back.
cool.
Yep.
Bend the
Head down.
knees, swing
Yep.
through the ball.
Yes.
I'll be honest, I pull a George Costanza. I daydream about things I should have said. Everybody does that.
I do that.
Everybody does. Damn, I
You do that on the treadmill when you're writing your notes.
It's like,
and you're
I hope this comes up again, and then I get another chance.
But now you can.
That's what he
With
does.
a jerk store called.
Yes, exactly.
Beautiful mind on the elliptical.
Yes. Also, I daydream about food, though. I think
who
about
doesn't?
food a lot.
I'm actually thinking about it
You
right
actually do. Usually about 5:36. You start talking
that's
about
true.
lamb, pork chops.
There's
or
just little visions of meat.
Beef jerky.
All around. All right, another great
cheese.
question.
Grilled cheese
I'm going to go to
sandwich is
you,
great from
Dana, because
yesterday, right?
I have a feeling you'll have a good answer for this
Okay.
one. From Suzanne 5. If you could do an internship, for someone for 1 year, who would it be?
Internship. No.
And don't say.
Like, what would I say? What were you
I was
say?
gonna say. Don't say somebody I thought you were gonna say.
Like who?
Well, I thought you might
got
say
nothing,
Bush.
do you?
I already. Oh my God. I intern for somebody that I already.
All right, then pick somebody you would like to internship for.
Oh gosh, that's a tough question. What would I want to
That
learn
is,
about?
right? We'll learn more about her. Anything.
Anne Patchett.
Who's that?
She's an American novelist.
Oh, of course.
She's in
I've read
Nashville.
all of her work.
She's amazing.
Yes.
I would intern.
That Ann Patchett. I was thinking of my next door neighbor, Ann Patchett.
yeah.
I have an idea.
What?
I always would love to make like a movie, produce and direct a movie.
There's another
There's a
for some-
theme.
That's what you
There's a theme.
daydream about.
Well, no, but I mean it's creative, right? So
Right.
you do something interesting like that, but more like crime stories or
I
something.
would like to write a novel. I just don't know how.
Well, that was an interesting addition to your mindless commentary. Just
You've
kidding.
written a lot of great.
Jesse?
Here's Dana in the green room every Monday. I read a novel this weekend.
Yeah, it's true.
How many did you read, Jesse?
Yes. No, one time she said she read two novels.
I read two novels this weekend.
Two novels.
Two novels and
I read a good one last week
It's
by
like-
Joseph Cannon called The
36
here we
Invisible
go.
Passage.
Yeah.
It was very good.
All right.
Yeah, I watch Netflix.
there's a lot
What do
of
you
that
daydream?
going on.
Hey,
with
I was going to ask you the same question again. Who would you like to intern?
I would like to intern for the Ohio State football coach, Urban Meyer.
Oh, that'd be
Ooh, nice.
very cool.
Right?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
College
fun.
football.
That would be good. Or like basketball. That'd be good.
I would like to be an intern for just generically, just for an astronaut, because the chores would be great. Like, fetch me my bucket or whatever.
Wow,
like,
you want to get his bucket?
Yes.
Gross.
Or, get me my freeze. Get me
You know what happens in the bucket?
Get me my freeze fried SpaghettiOs.
You could be an intern for like Villanova.
Oh, yeah.
We want to send you to space too, Greg.
I was like, yeah.
Either that or Lou Dobbs. Did I get you yet?
It's okay. I didn't intern for Dana.
Oh, you're.
No, there you go.
Only a paid internship.
Yeah, you would have a lot of reading assignments.
Yes.
Greg,
I'd walk
how
your dog.
predictable.
Oh, walk the dog. That's
Dobbs
a good one.
intern.
Dobbs intern. Oh, that'd be great. Iron his ties.
Just stop.
Press his
follow
stuff.
him
Okay.
around.
This is a good question from Nathan.Joel. What band do you wish would get back together?
Oh.
All right, Marie, come on.
Oh, you looked at me. You could see I had terror on my face.
Can you name some that broke up?
Didn't Fleetwood Mac just break up
No, they
again?
kicked Lindsey Buckingham out.
But then they get it one member, whatever. But you know who I love? The Go-Go's.
Yes.
Go-Go's. That's a good one.
Actually, aren't they kind of coming back or something?
Yeah, they're like, well, Belinda
They're just
Carlisle's
go-go.
a solo artist, but
Yeah.
then they have like the whole, you know, but it's nice when you get the.
Yeah, I saw them once.
The whole game
Great
back together.
Back in the 80s.
Yeah.
What about you, Jesse? Do you even listen to music in your pod?
I'm trying to think of a band
He's
that
going
broke
to say NSYNC, right? I think.
No, what
Brooks and
about Guns N' Roses? Did Axl-Rod get back together with the crew?
Axl-Rod? At least you didn't say Axel Foley.
My gosh.
You do not.
can't.
You have no pop
No,
culture.
we don't even know what to do about this.
My mom wouldn't let me listen to popular music.
Axl-Rod is
Yeah.
very different.
Axl-Rod. When David Axl-Rod left Guns N' Roses, it was never the
Slash was
same.
really upset.
Yes.
Slash
That is
was
okay. There you go.
mortified.
You got one of them. Pop culture quiz here. Okay.
When Paul Begala left the Beatles,
Yeah.
things were terrible.
Horrible. Human thumb.
The human thumb.
I think that Brooks and Dunn broke up, but then I think they might have already gotten back together. So
No,
my
they-
wish has been granted.
Yeah.
Oh, Genesis. What about Genesis?
Oh, there you go.
There I go. I
Phil
recovered.
Collins was out.
Peter
doing-
Gabriel.
Yeah. No one told me, I swear.
Did your mom text you?
No.
Well, all right, you didn't give one.
I said Fleetwood Mac.
All right, Fleetwood Mac. I'm gonna say all of my bands can't get back together because one member is dead.
Well-
The Clash. There's no Joe Strummer. The Cramps. There's no.
We don't want any of
Lux
your bands
Interior.
back together. We've heard enough.
Anyway.
I'm trying to think. There's no band that broke up.
A
That.
lot of people just go solo now.
Yeah, that's true. Gang of Four,
NSYNC.
the band, not the political group. All right, we're done, are we?
It's Gang of Eight.
One more thing is up next.
It's time now for one more thing. Happy Friday. And Jesse, we begin with you.
Amazing
Make
Waters
your mom
World.
proud.
As usual. Well, Mom's not going to be proud of this lineup. Look at that high caliber crew. Gorka, Huckabee, the ladies, Diamond and Silk. You won't even believe who we have on that I'm not plugging. And
I'm afraid.
you should be afraid. It is no, there's no animals on the show. We have the goat. I'm actually doing yoga with a goat in a couple weeks, but I'll let you know when that happens.
Well, there you go. Okay, well, and on Sunday, we have a spectacular show that you don't want to miss that's been advertised. The Next Revolution with Steve Hilton coming out with a wonderful hour for you on James Comey, and we're going to take apart the case and go over it. And we've got myself, Greg Jarrett, Harmeet Dillon, who is a First Amendment and election lawyer and RNC person. We've got Guy Lewis, former U.S. attorney, and Ron Bamich and Kendall Coffey. So we've got a fantastic lineup all set for that, and be sure to catch it on the Fox
I'm
News
scared
channel.
for Comey. What are you guys going to do to him when you
See you
convict
there.
him? I'm worried about him.
What?
What's the penalty when you convict? Yeah, it looks really intense.
It's going to be a very good discussion all across the board, so you'll enjoy it indeed. All right.
Excellent. It's time for Greg's What's This? Take a look at this picture. And I ask any of you at the table to, what do you think this is?
You're in Tyrus's jacket.
Exactly.
Oh,
I am
good
wearing
guess.
Tyrus's jacket.
How did you know?
Is
You
that
cheated.
insane?
I didn't cheat.
We are both human beings. Isn't that weird? And I'm on one spectrum and he's on another.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of Tyrus, the Greg Gutfeld Show tomorrow night at 10 p.m. There it is. Got Jedediah Bila. She's back. Jamie Lizzo, fantastic comedian. Kat Timp, and of course Tyrus, who will be wearing that jacket that I just tried on and looked like a very tiny person. That I am.
They will not have Diamond and Silk on that show, guys. So if you want to watch Diamond and Silk, on at 8.
All right, and what about Marie? What do you have for us today?
So I also have some fun professional news. On May 7th, that's a Monday in a couple weeks, Guy Benson and I are launching a new daily radio show on Fox News Radio.
Congratulations.
Every day, weekday, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. You can catch us on Sirius 450. It's from the newly named Tony Snow Radio Studio in D.C. and will be nationally syndicated across radio stations across the country. You can go to bensonandharf.com for more
Sounds
details.
like a law firm.
I know, Benson and Harf. Have you been injured? Have you been injured in an industrial accident? Benson and Harf. And then you come in and you go, hi, I'm Marie Harf.
And you look, and everybody wants to sign up with you. No, congratulations. I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, Guy Benson, he's a nice kid.
Yeah.
Very polite.
It's very exciting. I think it's going to be fantastic for
you.
everybody to get really into it and love it and watch it.
Little left versus right.
Yeah, exactly. Super talented.
If you ever need me to guest, I'll probably be busy, but I can give you names of people that could probably do your show.
Like Dershowitz.
Dershowitz will be there.
Oh my goodness gracious!
And if you need anybody, Jesse has lots of.
I don't have any free time. I don't have any free time. I'm busy. I'm doing yoga with a llama.
Thought it was a goat.
It's that too.
Okay, so you got Waters World, you got Greg Gutfeld, you got the fabulous Next Revolution with Steve Hilton. We've got her radio show and the best, Miss Prado.
I will have something to promote, but after this, look at this. Fourth grader Tucker Steckman thought he was going to really pull a fast one over on his school when he called in sick to go to the Chicago Cubs opening day. He even had a sign that read, "Skipping school, don't tell Principal Verslois, Principal Verslois, don't get mad." Well, guess what? Someone saw the sign. It was the principal. He was also at the game. So nobody got in trouble. But if you're going to skip school, I think going to
Do you think this is made up?
baseball game is true. I don't think it's made up. I think it's good. I didn't really have anything to promote except for what I plan to do this weekend. We're going to hit the beach. We finally have good weather in the East Coast. So
You'll be reading at the beach?
Yeah, what do you be reading?
Well, I'll be reading at the beach. Yes, I am actually reading a book right now.
Oh, God.
Called, oh gosh, what's it called? It's from my book club.
It's 50 Ways to Improve Your Memory.
War and Peace.
No, it's a novel.
Okay.
It's a novel, and it takes place. It's about an immigrant who came to America and then was trying to take care of this guy that worked for Lehman Brothers, and then he basically, the Lehman Brothers falls apart. The guy's a crook, and then the immigrant gets caught in the middle.
Oh, don't give it away.
All right, well, there you go.
Because I was really going to read that.
Yeah. Great point. All right, set your DVRs and never miss an episode of The Five. Everyone have a great weekend. Special report next.
Way to ruin the ending, Dana. Thanks, Kimberly. Have a good weekend.